Here to talk about the impact of a Trump administration without Giuliani, the future legitimacy of Trump's outsider status. Joining us, executive editor for the Weekly Standard, Fred Barnes, veteran of 10 presidential campaigns, Republican strategist, Ed Rollins. Let me start, Ed, with you. This is remarkable. I mean, a Romney now being put into the RNC chairman. I mean, is Reince Priebus running this president-elect's organization?
Historically, when a party picks a nominee, the nominee goes in and takes over the Republican National Committee. And certainly, White House takes over and runs a national committee. This seems to be...
Let me stop you. The White House takes over.
That's the point I'm going to make. It seems to me that we have the RNC now taking over the White House, and that's my concern. For Priebus to say, I'm going to pick the person who's going to replace me after having been there for 7, 8 years, because I don't want to undo any of the things that are done, I just don't think it's a very good thing. And I think a lot of his people now are going into the White House, at least that's what I'm hearing, as opposed to people who are with the Trump campaign. There was no one more visible, no more symbolic than Rudy Giuliani. Newt Gingrich was another one who was very symbolic, who's on the outside. So you have two of the principal, actually three of the principals, counting Christie, who had his own problems, but the three most avid advocates of this presidency, this man being elected president, are all outsiders now. Yeah. And you don't win being outside.
And, you know, Fred, we're talking about fighters here for Donald Trump who are now being excluded and pushed away. I want to put up a graphic, if I may, for the audience to show where we are, if you will, in the insider-outsider contest. As you see there, Dr. Ben Carson, an outsider, Stephen Bannon, an outsider, and Jeff Sessions, although a longtime distinguished federal prosecutor and senator, he is considered an outsider. This is now, it looks like, for an insider president, an outsider's cabinet. What do you make of it, Fred?
Well, I think that's basically true, and I think there's one thing you didn't mention, and that is Gary Cohn from the Goldman Sachs taking over the...
Yeah, we did mention.
No, I know you mentioned, but what I was saying, you didn't mention who he has won that job of the Economic Policy Council over, and that's Larry Kudlow.
Right.
Larry Kudlow, the great economist who, along with Steve Moore, put together Donald Trump's economic plan, who has been for Trump for a long time, way back in the campaign, certainly a brilliant economist, and I personally am very disappointed that Trump made this pick, hired another Goldman Sachs guy over Larry Kudlow.
I think we're getting up at various points to 4. Bannon, of course, is a unique Goldman Sachs alum, because he is an outsider of the highest order and is as anti-establishment as you can get. In other words, he's one of the guys that I really like as well.
I do too. I hope he doesn't become an outsider in the inside.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it looks like he may. I mean, we aren't hearing from him. I mean, I haven't heard a word from him. He has disappeared into some sort of insular vortex within whatever it is that Reince Priebus is constructing over there. I'm deeply troubled, Fred, by the notion that people are feeding Donald Trump. I mean, you know, I begin to wonder, does he know who his new RNC chairwoman is? I mean, is he fully briefed on the relationship, the fact that she is a swamp critter, if you will, in the swamp? Rex Tillerson, a second meeting with him. Condoleezza Rice shows up at the Trump Tower, and the next thing, one of the largest clients, if not the largest, on the part of the Rice-Hadley-Gates consulting firm, is suddenly considered for Secretary of State. I mean, this is noxious.
Well, it's certainly surprising. I didn't. I mean, Trump had, and I mean, this is developed later in this process of picking his cabinet. I think he's done some brilliant things.
So the governor of Iowa. But we're talking about the stuff that may not be so brilliant.
I realize that. Why he would want Rex Tillerson, who is a well-respected CEO and has been all around the world and made a petroleum deal with Vladimir Putin and so on. But Secretary of State, there's some awfully good candidates for that job. I personally would prefer Mitt Romney.
Well, we're going to put an X right through your suggestion, because the man who deserves the job is none other than Ambassador John Bolton. Because
Yeah,
you can
well,
name
no,
you can take any one of these people, Fred, and I'm very serious.
Yeah.
And
No.
whoever you can pull those names, pluck them, put them in the job, and if they don't have John Bolton at their side, they wouldn't know what the hell they're doing. John Bolton should be running the damn thing.
See, the point,
Giuliani can't be there.
The point you make, I've always.
The point you make
No,
is very, very important. Having spent many years of my life in government and in administrations, the biggest danger is when you send a cabinet officer who's never been around, is they get captured by the bureaucracy. And we always send them over saying, don't let them capture you. Basically go, you're the leader of this pack. And pretty soon they get over there and they're saying, oh my goodness, you guys have such great ideas. And obviously they know they have to play with them.
We've just had a president who didn't even talk to his doggone cabinet. So, you know, there is a level at which you say, you know, put them in the cabinet and dispense with them, because that's exactly what Obama did. They became, for the most part, nearly entirely figureheads. This cabinet, one seems to feel that he's going to draw upon. That makes them very important. And those who fill those secretaries' seats are critically important. Andy Puzder couldn't be more anti-American worker. If he went out, I don't know what he would have to do. Fred, I mean, he is anti-worker.
Yeah. Well, those are certainly unfortunate. Well, I wouldn't call him anti-worker.
What the hell would you call him? I'd be glad to, since I've crossed out your recommendation for Secretary of State, I'll be glad to give you carte blanche on this one.
Look, I have always been for John Bolton for Secretary of State. I just said I preferred...
Wait a minute, you just said Mitt Romney.
I preferred him over Rex Tillerson.
You've been in that swamp. You've been in that swamp, partner.
But I've always thought John Bolton would be the best for the reason we just heard, and that is John Bolton understands what can happen to people coming in as Secretary of State.
Can you have an anti-worker labor secretary working in a cabinet for a president who says that it's going to be hire America, buy America, the American worker for the first time will be heard by their government?
He is a job creator, though. I give him credit for that.
He creates jobs in fast food restaurants, and that's wonderful. But he is not. You're not talking about Henry Ford with the assembly line, for crying out loud.
I agree with you on that.
By the way, tell Bill Kristol he and I may need to talk. Fred, thanks so much. Appreciate it. Fred Barnes, Ed Rollins.
Thank you very much.
You get the last word.
No, I mean, I think the last word is there's a long ways to go, but there's really not much left. The Agriculture Secretary is Trade Rep, and the Secretary of State. Those are big appointments. But so far, it's you know, I think the ones I have most confident are the generals. Generals aren't going to get pushed around. They're going to go run the departments that they're supposed to. I'm worried about everybody else.
Yeah. Wait. Lou,
well, I'll tell you what.
No disrespect, but I'm worried about everybody else.
I think we all should worry, just for different reasons, with different people and different projects with one purpose, and that is to make America great again.
Absolutely.
Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it.
Great.